quick video. Well, okay, I'm not sure how quick this video is gonna be, but this is a bit of an emotional video, and this was actually one that was requested actually today when I'm filming this. I wanted to go ahead and film it and get it out of the way, and I'm not 100% sure when it's gonna be up, but I wanted to get it done with her. Alright, so what was asked was if I could do a video on Belle and stuff with her, alright, and just, you know, process of retiring her, what happened, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, first thing I'm going to say is Belle is completely fine. She's okay. She's right here, as healthy as you know, an old dog can be. You'll hear her coughing right now, and that's just because she's gotten a little bit sick recently. It's nothing bad. She's been like taken to the vet and everything, and she's okay. It's just a little cough. It happens to all of us, most likely allergies. Alright, so first thing I'm going to start off with is just some information on Belle. So Belle's going to be 9 years old in November. And that's November, like, I think it's November 14th is her birthday. So she's old for a dog. She is a mixed breed, and she's a shelter dog. We got her at 8 weeks and fell in love with her. She passed all of her temperament tests for a service dog and was just the absolute perfect candidate. As far as she goes, she didn't have any past trauma. She was surrendered to the shelter as a young puppy. She, you know, we got her at 8 weeks. We knew she didn't have anything that she had to get through when we received her. She's a border collie mix, and we believe the other, 50% border collie, and then we believe the other, like, 50% is just a mixture of cold weather breeds. So like Huskies, Malamute, Great Pyrenees, those are just like the top 3 I can think of that I know of off the top of my head. Alright, she's 53, somewhere between 53 and 55 pounds. It kind of just depends on the day, depends on what she's eaten, how much activity she's done, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, she's a great dog. She's an amazing dog. And she's okay. Alright, so the next thing is the process to retire her. I planned on getting a puppy when she was 6, and when I had like started the process of getting a new dog, I had thought she was a lot younger than she was. I had done my math wrong as for when we had gotten her. And looking at paperwork and stuff, I had just completely messed up on numbers, and I was thinking she was 6 when I started the process. So I was like, I've got at least 2 more years with her, like, working, and then even longer than that. And that's only if she has to retire at 8. And if not, then I've got 2 trained service dogs, and, you know, I can work the younger dog when I need to, and then I can work Belle, you know, any other time when I need, like, a solid dog. You know, slowly ease her out of working over a year or a year and a half, whatever, and, you know, she can decide when she wants to stop working. So before that happened, it was actually recently this year, so when I had just started the process of getting a dog, Belle ended up developing arthritis, and it was not something that was super obvious at the time, so I wasn't 100% certain that she was developing. I thought that maybe it was just like a bad day. So I ended up letting her rest. I let her rest for a couple of days, and I brought her back into working slowly and just making sure she was okay. And she seemed happy the first couple of days, and I was like, all right, this is great. After that, she just kind of started losing her work drive. It was obvious. Like, my school was 2 stories, and my classes were downstairs, upstairs, downstairs, upstairs. You know, it was constant up and down. And it was getting obvious that she didn't want to do stairs, which, I mean, wasn't a problem for me because physically stairs are one of the worst things for me with my lungs and with my POTS. That's just a symptom that I suffer from with both asthma and POTS, and it's like piled on together. It happens. So I started taking the elevator since we had one. which had been cleared by the school, and it was fine, and I was like, this is whatever, and Belle seemed happy with that. But it was obvious that she still was losing her work drive. Like, she wasn't having the motivation to task, she wasn't having the motivation to, you know, keep up. She wasn't getting excited as she usually did for working. You know, just anything like that. It was just, she was hitting that point where it was obvious she wanted to stop. And I didn't want to force her to work if she didn't have to. You know, it was kind of like, if I could, you know, figure out a way to, you know, take care of myself enough that I could last until I was confident in my service dog and training's, you know, abilities, or in my next dog's abilities or whatever, and just let her go, then, like, let her retire, then that was fine with me. But during all of this, I was in the process of attempting to train a different puppy. This wasn't Aries. I had 2 dogs before Aries that I was trying to train as service dogs. I had done temperament tests on them, and when I did the temperament tests, they had passed, you know, they had mostly 3s and 4s on the bullhard, which is what you're after, like, that's what you want. And they seemed like they'd be, like, perfect service dog candidates. But one of them I found out was not going to be the right size I needed for any mobility. He was a German Shepherd mix, and, you know, a Shepherd can get huge. Like, you know, they can get a male Shepherd can be 100 pounds or more, like, depending on what line they are, but they're usually, like, 70-ish at the lowest. So I was like, this is fine, like, you know, it's a big breed, so this is okay. But we found out he was a German Shepherd Beagle mix. So that's like a fancy breed, but I'm sorry, that's a mutt. Like, there's no other way to put it. And the Beagle kept him small. So he's full grown now at 55 pounds, and he didn't have the work drive. He wanted to play, he did enjoy running around, and it was obvious he was never going to be cut out for even like a sporting dog. That just wasn't what he was for. He was a dog that was meant to be a pet dog. So with him, I tried for months before finally just saying, this dog doesn't want to work. He's not interested in it. It's not something he is okay with. And that's something that you have to acknowledge, like with any service dog, is if they don't want to work, you can't force them to. Like, there's no other way around it. You can't make a dog work. You can't make a dog do sports. You can't anything. If they don't want to, then you can't force them, you know? So I ended up talking to my grandparents, and we decided our best route was going to be rehoming him and trying to find a new puppy. So I ended up rehoming him with one of my close friends. You know, still get updates on him and all that kind of stuff. And he's doing great. He's living the spoiled pet lifestyle. He's got 2 other dogs that he absolutely adores playing with, you know, all that kind of stuff. And with the friend that I rehomed him with, I hadn't known him for very long when I rehomed him, but my boyfriend has known him forever, so I trusted him. I knew he was good with dogs. He works at a dog rescue and all this kind of stuff with retired military dogs. So I knew he'd know what to do with a high drive dog, because he was very high drive. He just wasn't like interested in working. So from there, I went ahead and found a new puppy. With the new puppy I got, I had done some research on breeds, but not enough. You know, I didn't have any breed in mind. I just had the mindset of, I need to figure something out so I can retire Belle. You know, I need to get a puppy that passed a temperament test. So I jumped on the first dog I found that passed a temperament test. And with her, she had mostly, I think it was 3s. It was the one that's like more towards the dominant side of the bullhard, so it wasn't like a balance. Like with Belle, she was like half 3s, half 4s. It was like a balance with her. But this dog, she was more towards the dominant side as far as everything went. And I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, she's still, you know, she's good. She's in that range, like the 3s and 4s. That's what you want, you know. And I know the trainer that did the temperament testing for me was like, I don't know how well she's gonna work for a service dog. I think she's gonna be more of a sporting dog, but I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life. Like, it was all around bad. So she was a blue tick hound. Well, it's very rare that you find a hound that is cut out for service work. They, with her nose always got the best of her. She was always, she was very clearly a sporting dog. She wanted to hunt, she wanted to do disc. She was just so interested in everything except for service work. And she loved learning basics, but she wasn't interested in trying to learn tasks. Like, that wasn't something she was down for. Like, me and her, I got her at 12 weeks and did everything I could to try and bond with her, and it was just me and her never clicked. And that's another thing with dogs, is that happens sometimes, is you and the dog could just not click, So with her, we ended up biting the bullet and just saying, okay, she's not cut out for this. We need to find with me physically, I couldn't keep up with the sporting, with sports, with doing constant sporting events with a hound. I couldn't. We don't have a fenced in, we have a fenced in area where the dogs can play, but it wasn't secure enough for a dog if she decided to get a scent, so a raccoon or a cat or a squirrel, because we have raccoons and squirrels running around everywhere, and we have feral cats that are in our area. There's no way around it. And letting her out in this little fenced in area that we have, if she wanted to, she could jump over the fence. All of my dogs could, but with Belle, I never worried about it because Belle wasn't interested in it, and Aries isn't interested in it either. He's never tried to, even if he wanted. If he wanted to, he could. There's no way around that. It's not tall enough. But with Nala, we knew that there was a very high possibility of her jumping over, so we didn't want to let her out. There was a possibility of her digging under, anything like that, so I didn't want to let her out in the fenced in area by herself. So I kept her on, I did a long line, which didn't give her much freedom. It was just, a long line, and I would hold on to one end, or I'd tether it to an area and let her roam with me out there, with me and Belle out there, keeping an eye on her, and then bring her inside. We did as much running energy stuff as I could, but physically I couldn't keep up with her. She was so high drive. It was insane amount of energy. It was no matter what we did, she always had more energy. And with her, since I wasn't able to get all of the energy out with no matter what I was doing with running, fetch, just hiding treats and having her do scent work, anything like that, it was just, I tried so much, but it turned into destructive behavior. And we realized we couldn't give her the life she needed. We couldn't keep up with her. It's me and my grandparents here, and we couldn't exercise her we needed, she needed. We couldn't, give her all of the life and, just everything. So we talked to people and decided it was a good idea to let her go to a hound rescue, where, just to a rescue organization. And from there, she was snatched by we're pretty certain she was snatched by the lady that took her in, because just talking to them and everything afterwards, we know that that's pretty much what happened. And we know she went to a good place, so that's okay with us, and she's taken care of. Alright, so that leads us to me struggling, because I knew she needed to retire. I knew she was in pain. She was losing her motivation to work. She wasn't enjoying it as much as I wanted her to anymore. She was getting old, and that was something I had to realize and deal with. And that was really hard for me to understand, was, this dog that I love, that has taken care of me for years, and just, is my baby is getting old and there's no way around it. So I decided I needed to accept what was going on. I needed to accept that I couldn't train my own dog. So, I could train part of it, but I couldn't train him from a puppy. So that's where Aries came in. When we got Aries, he was partially trained. He wasn't fully trained, but he was very close to it. He was under ADA, could be fully trained, like ADA law, but he wasn't where I wanted to mark him as fully trained. Reasoning behind that is because I wanted to see if he had any natural alerts, which he does. He has my natural heart rate alert, which had to be shaped when I got him, but that's okay. That wasn't hard because he picked up on it like that. And then he has a couple other natural alerts that I really don't want to get into right now, but I will in another video. And then he knew all of his basics. He had new responses to stuff. He knew how to do DPT, he knew leg elevation, he knew a couple of other things that helped me with other disabilities. And he hadn't started learning any guide work yet because he wasn't old enough. He was a little bit under a year old. He's just now, at over a year old, just now starting to learn guide work, and that's okay. And he's picked up, really fast. He's going to be great at it once he's fully able to do, full guide work instead of just the really light stuff that the vet's cleared him for. So with him, over the course of 2 or 3 months, something like that, I started getting Belle used to not working and bringing in Aries. So it was kind of I'd alternate days, or I'd let Belle work 2 days and then him work a day, and then Belle 2 days and then him a day, or it was Belle him as far as working, or I'd work them tandem, just trying to ease her out of working. So the original, what we started was tandem work at stores. So it was both of them working together, and that was so that he could figure out, so she could see, for herself that he was taking care of me, and then it was so that he could, get used to working with me. And then it turned into me doing, whenever I go out. So let's say if I was going out every single day a week, then I'd do 6 days with her and 1 day with him. And then I slowly declined that, so it was 5 days with her, 2 with him. It was then, 4 and 3, then, 3 and 4, and 2 and 5 and 6 and 7, or 6 and 1. And then eventually brought him into working 7 days a week, which, I'm gonna be honest, I don't go out 7 days a week. I physically can't keep up with that. But that's just an explanation of it, was just slowly getting her used to not working. And then it was, I'd take him out for a week, and then there'd be a day where I'd bring her, or I'd bring him out for a week and a half, and she'd come. And then it turned into a while of me just working him constantly and her just coming to church with me. So church is at most 2 hours out, and that's her laying under a pew. So I do that. So she was still working, but she wasn't. It was if she needed a task, she could, but it wasn't she was doing all the walking and everything like that. Throughout all of this, we were trying out different arthritis pills for her. We had some over-the-counter ones that we had tried from PetSmart, some we had tried that were from joint support on Amazon, some that were joint support from Target, and prescriptions for her, and it seemed none of those were really doing it. She was still in pain, she still wasn't enjoying it. It started hitting a point where she was refusing to, walk across the house. She didn't want to come jump on my bed anymore, stuff like that. Which I understand, if you're in pain, you don't want to do that. But what we eventually found that works was hemp oil. I know a lot of people are going to be we're giving your dog marijuana, what the heck? But it works for her. The vet said it was okay. If it works, then it's fine. she needs to make, it was kind of like we needed to make sure she wasn't in pain, she wasn't hurting anymore, and that was how it worked. Like, that's what worked for her, that's what worked for us. It's nice and easy. She gets 2 doses of it, so 1 in the morning, 1 at night, and she's gained her mobility back. So she'll, you see her, like, she'll be up on my bed and she'll, like, jump off, she'll jump on, she'll play still. I'll plan on inserting some videos of her, like, playing and Aries, get off the couch. Oh. Belle, you're catching my finger. Oh. Do you want him? Go get him, Belle. Come here. Living room, stuff like that. And it's just, she'll do some outings with me. She actually did an outing today. It was her last outing before I leave, and her official last outing for good. This was just, I had to do a quick trip into Target, and then I wanted to take her in for, like, her last puppuccino as a working dog. I mean, she'll probably end up getting more from me, but she got a puppuccino, and I'll insert the clip of her, like, enjoying her puppuccino here also.
Sorry, I had to sit down. I was at kickboxing last night. I tore them.
Kickboxing?
Yeah, it's fun.
Remind me.
I love it.
Get on your bedside.
I love it. It's great.
Como si fuera la diarrea.
We don't have any. Cool. Yeah, you told me about that. I don't remember what it's called. Which guy else on? He's so cute. The other thing was she's gotten back the motivation to work, like, at home, but she's also acknowledged the fact that Aries does take care of me, and Aries does does the job. Like, Aries tasks, Aries, does everything that she was doing, but she realizes she doesn't have to, like, take care of me anymore. And I know that's something that, like, she still does. Like, she'll still do it at home if she feels like it, but she knows she's not, like, she doesn't have to because I have him. So that was something that, I had to, like, realize was she's okay with this. Like, this is what Belle also wants. Like, this isn't just me coming up with stuff in my head. This is, she wants to retire. So I knew, like, personally, I know I will never force a dog to work. If Aries loses his drive to work in the next year, then he's not going to be forced to work. He'll come home, he'll be a pet dog, he'll stay here with my grandparents, and I'll figure something else out. It's like I'll take, just cope with meds, with therapy, with, lots of doctor's visits. My boyfriend knows what to do if I need any sort of help, and do that until I can figure out if, the training wise for a new dog. I know I will never have a puppy on campus. Like, okay, no puppy younger than about 8 months. So I want to have quite a bit of time in there for training, or at least have 3 months of training under their belt, so 6 months. I guess that's 6 months at the youngest. So that'd be like all summer being able to work with them. House trained basics and at least one task, so that they're covered under ADA as fully trained. And state of Texas service dog and training has public access rights, but that way I'm confident with them, like, on my college campus. I don't think he's going to, because he has an extremely high drive. He has no health problems we found so far, and I am closely monitoring him as far as, like, hip elbow dysplasia, joints, everything like that, which I know I should have done more with Belle than I did. But that's what I'm doing with him now, especially with the fact that once he's, I say 2, but it's just whenever his joints fuse and he's cleared, he's going to be doing mobility, like bracing and stuff.
and I want to make sure that he's safe. I don't want to, like, you know, with Belle, as soon as it was obvious, like, she was pulled from any mobility work. You know, I wouldn't even put a mobility harness on her anymore. It was, she's working in a vest and there's no other way around it, you know. And that was, you know, that's just how it was. She stays home now. She gets spoiled. She still does, you know, I still, like, try and get her to exercise as much as possible. I know I plan on trying to do swimming with her, one that I can build her drive up in the water, because she still doesn't like the water. That's something we've been working on since she was a puppy. But she is getting more accustomed to it. Like, she'll go and she'll, like, lay in the bathtub now, or in, like, kiddie pools and stuff, but I don't know if she's gonna swim. And then on top of that, since we're in Texas, I'm really cautious about, like, right now, the blue algae blooms, or, you know, any other sort of bacteria that, like, grows in the heat. And the closest area is, like, a lake, pond thing, and I'm not willing to let her swim in that for safety. So I do have to find, like, an actual, like, dog pool near us, which is something I've been trying to do for a year and a half now. So yeah, she's still my baby. She's still okay, like, health-wise. She's still gonna be a big part of the channel. And it's a process. It's something that you can't work around. It's inevitable for every dog, and, like, retirement is. And you have to realize, like, with, you know, every working dog, you have to really pay attention and make sure they're still enjoying working. Yeah, so if anybody has any more questions about Belle, then you can go ahead and, like, comment down below and I'll ask. The other thing is I'm currently trying to get a Q&A together. So if you have any questions for that, like for me, about Aries, about Belle, anything like that, go ahead and comment those down below. Or if you came from Instagram, I have a Q&A box up on my story, so you can go ahead and send your questions in there.